Welcome to the Metro Munk Podcast, your sanctuary for self-discovery, personal growth, and emotional healing. I'm your host, Parag Lokande, a shadow coach, spiritual mentor, seeker, poet, and a student of life. This podcast is a heartfelt journey into understanding and embracing your true self. It is designed to help you navigate the complexities of the human experience with wisdom and compassion. Join me on a journey to self-discovery and personal growth as we explore the power of self-healing. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Metro Munk Podcast. This is episode 51, and today we move into the sixth step of the I Breathe framework. Today we are talking about trusting your body and to keep going no matter what. I would say this step is for those moments when, or rather especially for those moments when the process feels flat, when emotions are not really moving and you're wondering if anything is even working. And yet, this is where the deepest rewiring is often happening. And I often say healing isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it is that quiet faith you place in your body's intelligence. So then today we'll talk about the art of staying with the process, even when it feels like nothing's changing. Because something always is. Even to this day, at the time of recording this episode, after some 600 hours of client sessions and 1,300 hours of doing my own inner work, I still can't say that every session is predictable or that they will all flow with ease. Each one still calls for patience and perseverance. And once again, I find myself coming back to the gym analogy because that's exactly what this is. We are retraining our nervous system, literally, not just to return to calm, rest, and digest, but also to become more elastic. And no matter how many times I've tried to predict how a session will go, it always comes back to one thing: trusting the body's intelligence, or holding faith and confidence that you are in fact on the right path. And that trust, I would say, isn't blind. It's actually built through experience. It's built every time you stay present with the sensation instead of running away from it. Every time you pause instead of pushing past what's uncomfortable. Over time, your body then begins to remember safety. It starts to reorganize itself. Not in your own timeline, but on its own quiet rhythm. And that is why this step in the I Breathe framework is so important. Trust and keep going really isn't about forcing progress. You're not trying to push through anything. It's about staying committed even when you can't see the shifts yet. Because the shift is often already happening, is just beneath the surface. In many ways, and I would really like to draw upon the Sanskrit word of sādhanā. Sādhanā comes from the root word of sādha, which means to accomplish or to reach a goal. So sādhanā means a disciplined practice undertaken to achieve your specific aim. It's not just a spiritual discipline or a set of rituals, it's literally a devotional commitment to showing up. It's a visceral feeling or an approach of showing up again and again, regardless of the results. So sādhanā teaches us that transformation isn't always obvious or immediate. It's subtle and it's cumulative. So it's about carving out a path in the unseen, just by the act of returning. You see, each time you sit with your body, breathe through resistance, or allow an emotion to rise, and without judgment, if I may add, you are in sadhana. When you begin to see your healing journey as a form of this discipline, this practice, or this sadhana, everything shifts. Because it's no longer dry and monotonous anymore. It's got this aspect of devotion embedded in it. It's no longer about fixing yourself. You're no longer rushing to your destination. It becomes about showing up again and again in service to something deeper. And that deeper is your wholeness, your truth, your reconnection with life. And like any true sadhana, it asks for consistency, presence, and reverence. So folks, someday the practice will feel effortless. Other days, it will feel like nothing is moving. But believe me, the work is still happening. Just like the seed doesn't show signs of sprouting unless it's already begun changing underground, your nervous system is slowly but surely rewriting its patterns. You just don't always get to see it, but you are in fact living it. And surely the reason this work feels so sacred, so deeply challenging yet fulfilling, is because you are in fact becoming your higher self through this process. Not in some distant cosmic sense, but right here in the body, through each breath, each moment of surrender, and each time you stay instead of flee. Your higher self isn't something to be reached. It is something you uncover by shedding the layers of defenses. And that uncovering happens slowly, lovingly, and even through this practice of trust. So when you hold space for your body's intelligence, you're not just healing, you are in fact remembering as well. You're allowing the most divine part of you to lead. And mind you, there will be times when you feel stuck. There will be times you will feel nothing seems to happen. And this is so common in shadow work, especially when you're moving through emotional release. Like when you sit down with an intention to feel and nothing's coming up. No tears, no rage. You just feel this numbness or a blankness. And then you might wonder, am I doing this wrong? But often this pause is the body recalibrating. In fact, silence is also part of the process. You see, the body is so used to being ignored that it takes some time for it to turn back and flow the other direction. Sometimes when wave of emotion rises and you expect it to move through like before, but instead it just sticks around, it loops, it lingers. It feels like you're crying about the same thing again and again. That again is not failure. That is your nervous system revisiting a layer that now feels safe to surface more deeply. Sometimes the stuckness shows up as resistance, and suddenly you're too tired or busy or endlessly distracted. And then you might judge yourself as being too lazy. But this isn't laziness. This is the body's way of protecting you from what it still thinks to be unsafe. Even the resistance is sacred. It is telling you that you're close to something important, but maybe it's just not the time. And then, of course, there are times when, after a powerful release, you expect to feel free, but instead you feel empty, flat, or ungrounded. And this too is valid. You've cleared space and now your nervous system needs time to reorganize. So healing isn't a straight line. It's sort of a spiral. Sometimes your emotions that you access are so foreign or so intense, it scares you. Yeah, that can happen. And you find yourself doubting, is this even mine? But this is what shadow work does. It brings up parts that were long exiled and given up. So trust that your body is intelligent enough not to bring up anything unless you're ready to meet it. It knows best. Its intelligence knows best. In fact, that is why it held it back from you. It suppressed it for you. It kept it from you when you were too young. It decided it was too much for your young self to deal with it at the time. And that is why I say, if something makes you emotional, it is true and valid for you. Sometimes, instead of nothing happening, there's too much happening. Sometimes there is even an overflow, or more often than not. After a session, many people experience waves of emotions over the next few days. Griefs arising out of nowhere, irritation, sudden joy, or unexpected exhaustion. Now, this on the surface might seem like regression, but this isn't regression. What's really happening is the residue of energy is still moving. It's still integrating in its own time. So your session may have ended, but the body continues to process. Just like how rainwater keeps seeping into the earth long after the storm has passed. It's the same way your system keeps on unwinding, shedding, and realigning, even when you're no longer actively doing the work. So these emotional swings, when you get them, they are not signs that something's gone wrong. Rather, they are signs that something is finally moving and working. Not only that, after a powerful cathartic emotional release, many people experience a sudden and unexpected period of calm. You may often describe it as bliss, lightness, or even a euphoric high. It's as if the weight of that emotional burden has been lifted all at once, and you find yourself floating on top of the world. And this state can feel very expansive, very joyful. It's deeply peaceful, like wave of relief, literally sweeping you through your entire being. This high is like your nervous system's natural response to having discharged stored tension in the body. So when the body finally lets go of deep-seated emotions, what it does is it triggers a release of endorphins and other neurochemicals that create these feelings of pleasure and well-being. And it's very similar to the runner's high or bliss that's experienced in deep meditation. And eventually, over time, as a long-term side effect, after you've cleared much of your emotional legacy, this blissful, peaceful state, it becomes more frequent and stable. In fact, I would say that this is our natural state, one of deep peace, openness, and ease. It is, in fact, the state that children often live in before life's conditioning and wounding starts to, take that away from them. So then as we shed the accumulated burdens and reconnect with our true self, we begin to reclaim that original, radiant way of being. The challenge, though, and the invitation, thus, is to trust this process, knowing that beneath every layer of pain, there's a core of peace waiting to be uncovered. Until then, though, this is going to come and go. This state will be temporary initially, and until that peaceful state becomes steady reality, you will see this is like a roller coaster, like a gentle light peeking from behind the shadows, or sometimes falling back in pain and triggers. And I like to think as if your higher self is making a quiet appearance in those states of bliss, reminding you of what's possible beyond the struggles. So when a trigger knocks you out of that state and that shadow seems to close in again, once again, it's not fall or failure. Instead, it's kind of a pat on the back or loving nudge from life itself, encouraging you to keep going. Keep going, keep trusting your body and the process. Because every time you return, every time you rise after the dip, you're stepping closer to that true self of yours. Sometimes when we are deep in the process, it can even feel endless, like we've opened a can of worms that just won't stop. Emotions, triggers, memories flooding in waves that seem never ending. And it's easy to worry that this flow of inner turbulence might last a lifetime or even beyond. And when that happens, the peace and the bliss that we glimpsed earlier can start to feel like a distant fantasy, something out of some comic book. But from my own experience and what I've seen in others, there is a shift. The intensity and the frequency of these emotional storms begin to lessen over time. The chaos becomes less overwhelming as you start clearing the big rocks from your emotional legacy. And while I can't say this will happen exactly the same way for everyone as it happened to me, or make some sweeping claims about timeline, I can say this much with certainty, that peace, that deep calm is real. It is not a fantasy. It is the natural state that emerges as we continue to trust the body and keep showing up for ourselves day after day. So if you find yourself overwhelmed, fearing that this emotional journey might never end, know that these feelings are also valid. I have felt them myself as well. I have worried all these things myself. I wondered all these things myself as well. And that is part of the process. So it's okay to feel uncertain or impatient. But remember, the very act of showing up, of continuing to trust and engage with your body's intelligence, is what moves you towards that calmer and peaceful place. Now, if you have trouble trusting the body's intelligence, or if you have not experienced it yet, or if you may even feel that this is a fantasy or some sort of a wishful thinking, let's try and look at it this way for a moment. Throughout history, many ancient cultures have recognized the body as a sacred temple, an intelligent vessel carrying not just physical life, but spiritual wisdom and even healing powers within. In the ancient Indian system of medicine, Ayurveda, the body is seen as a microcosm of the universe itself, intricately balanced and self-regulating. The Chinese tradition of Qigong teaches that the body channels vital energy that flows through meridians. Indigenous people across the world, from Native American healers to Aboriginal custodians, have long honored the body as a living temple, a sacred container of ancestral memory and connection to the planet. These traditions affirm what modern science is also beginning to now show, that our bodies possess a profound intelligence capable of healing, adapting, and guiding us. One of the most compelling reasons to see your body as a temple is its incredible capacity for self-governance. Think about it. Your heart beats steadily without you having to remind it. Your lungs inhale and exhale air effortlessly. Your digestive system breaks down food, all without your conscious efforts. The immune system is protecting you from countless threats on a daily basis. And all this often without you even noticing is happening. These complex systems are like constantly at work, maintaining balance and health, quietly orchestrating this miracle of life in you. And yet, how often do we really pause to truly honor what's going on inside? So when we begin to acknowledge and respect the body's innate intelligence and autonomy, it sort of shifts our relationship with ourselves. This is the intelligence we are called to surrender to, the sacred temple within us that holds this deepest wisdom and the purest guidance. It's not an abstract force, but in fact a living, breathing divinity that speaks softly and profoundly when you pause and listen. In fact, this is the God, the sacred presence that governs and even our healing journey, I would say. It decides literally what surfaces or when it surfaces and how much we can hold in each moment. So to pray to this intelligence is to bow deeply to the mystery of your own being and to honor the divine rhythm that's moving within you. Ancient traditions have long taught us that the body is formed from the food we eat. In a sense, it is the embodiment of the plants of the earth and the life that sustains us. And because of this, the wisdom held within our body is vast and profound, carrying the intelligence of the very earth itself. So when you engage with your body in trust and devotion, you open a doorway to grace. And here, surrender is not giving up. It's a sacred yielding to a power far greater than the mind's will. A power that knows exactly how to lead you home. So when I say keep going, I don't mean push harder. I mean stay humble. Stay humble to this divine force that lives inside you, the one we often take for granted, the body that breathes without us, digests without us, heals without us, the body that holds the stories we've forgotten and the wisdom we've barely even begun to access. So to keep going is to keep bowing, to keep listening, to keep returning to this sacred partnership. And you're not doing this alone. You are being guided by something far more ancient, far more intelligent, and far more loving than your mind can comprehend. And it's right here in you. So as we come to the end of this episode, I invite you to take a moment and place a hand on your heart and just acknowledge this sacred presence within you. The fact that you're still here, still listening, still walking this path, that itself is devotion. Trust your body, keep going, not with urgency, but with reverence. Let each step be an offering, let each pause be a prayer, and remember, you are not broken, you are becoming. Becoming more of who you truly are. One breath, one wave, one quiet moment of trust at a time. Thank you for being here again, as always, and I'll see you in the next episode. Much love and take care.